everyone. Dr. James here.
And I'm Dr. Debra. And welcome to Love and Life Elevated. And you may notice we have a special guest today. And today we are honored to welcome a true health pioneer and legend to Love and Life Elevated, Udo Erasmus. For over 40 years or more, Udo has been the world's leading voice on how to truly nourish the body from the inside out. He literally wrote the book on healthy fats with his classic Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. And his newest work, Your Body Needs an Oil Change, is exactly the wisdom we need right now. Udo, your journey from biochemistry to deep soulful purpose is nothing short of wild and inspiring. You've helped millions of people thrive through your books and your life's work, and it is a joy to have you with us today. So thank you for being here.
Well, I don't know if I can live up to that to that ad.
I'm sure you can, and then some.
Yes, no doubt. And Udo, before you jump in and we jump in together, I have to let you know, and you probably don't remember this, I had you on my radio show back in 1998, KHOW in Denver, Colorado. It was a Sunday morning talk radio, and you were one of our sponsors. And it's just such a cool full circle moment to have you back. Yeah. I mean, you were one of our favorite guests. I fell in love with you then, and it's just awesing to see you again today.
I hope it's not sexual.
Well, it's not.
The thing back then when we were doing radio, we didn't have that pleasure of getting to see you on video. So this is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, you're even more handsome in person.
Oh, it's somebody obviously you need glasses on your glasses.
So Udo, it's truly an honor. And for two people who Deb and I going through school together, one of our very first books that we put in our library for our patients.
And we were dead broke, mind you.
Yeah, we said, are we going to eat tonight? Or are we going to buy Udo's book? So we actually bought your book, and we fasted
which is why you're still not overweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, truly, though, it really was our foray into healthy oils, omega-3s, omega-6s, and really learning from the best, which is you. And gosh, I'm excited to dive into the science behind all of that. But I also, I want to know who Udo is and what you most want people to know about not just the science, but about you and your mission.
Well, actually, I don't really care whether people know about me. But by the time I check out, I'd like it to be folk wisdom.
Beautiful.
Or part of the curriculum starting in grade school, that the core of our existence is peace within every one of us, and that within that peace is a flow of unconditional, empowering love called life for the body. And that one of the things we ought to do every day is spend some time in stillness, connecting to and enjoying the fulfillment that is built into us, because then that will be automatically expressed into the world. And I'd like 8 billion people to know that. That's
Udo,
a small mission.
That's a small mission, but what's really fascinating, just as you were sharing that idea, that vision and that mission, I think the times that we're living in right now are unprecedented for that level of thoughtfulness, that level of consciousness. And I think the willingness for us to go inside, because I think so much of life right now, addicting us, pulling us to look around, versus looking within. And I feel like some of the work that I've read about you, and certainly the work that Deb and I do with our patients, is we're really much more understanding of the necessity. I call it with my patients, strategic solitude, and making sure that is built into your daily experience. Before you go out and serve the world, you have to make sure that you have connected with the deepest parts of who you are in a way in which it gives you the sensibility, the empathy, the compassion And I believe that sacred awareness so you can step out in the world and truly be on purpose.
Yeah. I no argument there at all. No argument. Except I would say, this isn't like only in this time. This has always been the case.
Mm.
Because when we were in our mother's womb, then my question is, well, where was my focus when I was in my mother's womb? Well, let's see. There was no place to go. There was nothing to do. Everything was taken care of. Pretty safe. So my focus, not having any place to go, was inside, in its source, in life, or deeper than that, in awareness. And so I spent 9 months in there in deep meditation, right? There's stillness practice. There's the stillness practice. I was in there like a yogi, right? Right? And then I got kicked out, like we all did. And then I had to get to know the world of surfaces of things.
Mm.
And how that happens is naturally, because that's important for survival. So the focus went out through my senses to change in the outside world, to assess, is this friend to approach, or is this enemy to run and fight, or is this just irrelevant to safely ignore?
Mm.
And so that started when I was born, and it's a normal, natural, necessary journey. And I went from being present inside, in the love, the peace, the inspiration, the joy, the presence, and absent outside, to getting more and more present outside, and in that process disconnecting from inside. And that's where heartache began.
Mm-hmm.
We name heartache, like I've got 10 pages of words we use for heartache.
Oh, wow.
Uncomfortable feeling in our chest, triggered by grandmother dies and I was close to her. Girl I had dumped me unceremoniously, being lonely, heartache, grief, longing, restlessness, emptiness. So we have so many words for it, but it's always the same feeling here. And the trigger is outside because we forgot that we got disconnected from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to figure it out on the outside. When the truth is, we can only get reconnected on the inside because that's where the disconnection happened. And so heartache, contrary to what we think, is not something to ignore or deny or distract ourselves from or rationalize with some narrative in our head, religious, political, or whatever, or blame on somebody. It's actually the greatest gift we have because it's the call to bring our focus back home inside where what we're looking for is already present.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to sort of the healing aspect of that heart, aside from going within, stillness, meditation, breath, nature, where do you go to seek that sense of inner peace? And that kind of relates to this idea that I know that you talk about with, finding peace in these chaotic times. So not only, in heartache, but in chaos, like what are your go-to places, whether it's within you, and how do you get there? What's a journey to get there?
Yeah. Well, okay. So the heartache, the cause of heartache is my natural disconnection from myself.
Mm.
And the chaos is the result of living disconnected.
Mm.
No, not just me, but just about everybody in the world living disconnected. I think the thing that's important to know, and the only people really that, I studied biology because I wanted to know what life is. And I came out of the Second World War. So by the time I was 2.5 years old, I was a war baby. Then I was a refugee kid. Then I was an orphan.
Oh, wow.
And and basically we lost everything. We lost the country, we lost the culture, we lost the house, we lost the farm, we lost the parents. My mother had to leave me behind. Basically lost everything other than the clothes we were, the body we were in, and the life in the body. And so in a way, I look back at it now and say, what an incredible gift, because it made me not feel entitled. It made me look for what can I trust, what can I depend on, what is the truth about things. Because when you understand how things work, that gets you security and predictability. And I definitely needed that, right? So I had, so the only people who actually, so when I studied biology, it's called the study of life, but we never studied life in biology. You do not study life in biology. You study form and function. Now, these are signs of life, but they're not life. And I thought, I wanted to know what life is. I thought we would have a beaker at some point, half filled with something liquid and shining. And we'd look there with great wonder and say, wow, there's life. We never got the beaker. So I left biology, went into psychology, study of soul. Yeah, that sounded like something I'd like to know about, because I don't know what soul is, right? I'm a kid, right? What is soul? Why are they talking about it? So psychology is the study of soul. Well, you don't get soul in psychology. You get thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Then I went into medicine. We call it healthcare. So I said, I want to know what health is. Because if I know what health is and somebody comes to me sick, then I should be able to turn them in the direction of health, give them a push, and watch them get better. But I'd have to know where health is or what health is to know where to push them. Well, we only learned about disease in medicine. And I went to the dean and I said, I came here to study health. I'm only getting disease. What is health? And he looked at me with these unbelievably compassionate brown eyes. And I said, we don't know. We're working on it.
Wow.
And I was so disappointed. And then we were told in first year medicine, a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't. And that was the end of my medical career, because we call that lying on the farm. And so I left medicine. I ended up back in biochemistry and genetics. I was learning more about health in biology than I ever did in medicine, because you're studying the normal functioning of normal creatures in normal situations in biology. You're not just focusing on abnormality. So I didn't find what I was looking for at university. And I also hung out in social psych and anthropology and sociology a little bit, and in literature a little bit. After I quit university, I sat in on some other classes. Wasn't there. And then much later, I realized the only people who ever really talked about human nature, well, let's see, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Socrates, right? So when Socrates says, know thyself, and then he says the unexamined life is not worth living, know thyself. He says, know thyself. He didn't say, know everybody but thyself. That's what we do, right? He says, know thyself. Or when Jesus says, kingdom of heaven is within you, seek first the kingdom, and then everything else will fall into place. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, right? So, or Buddha says, when your heart aches, sit with it, feel it. Don't push it away, because very close to that heartache, just behind that heartache, is your reconnection to the magnificence of your existence, right? So I ended up getting my biology out of the red letter edition of the King James Version of the Bible. And I wasn't interested in the Bible. I was interested in what did Jesus have to say? Because when I started thinking about who would I like to be like, that was the only one that came up. I said, you know what? This guy, I don't know, they're still talking about him 2,000 years later. There must have been something there.
Yeah.
And I want to feel what he felt that made him live like he did, do what he did, say what he did. I want to feel that. I want to have that experience. So that's and then I did the red letter edition, and I had some magical experiences where I took risks that if what he said wasn't true, it wouldn't work out well for me. So we were told not to do that, but I'm not one that necessarily follows all the rules.
So where are you
Anyway.
from originally?
My parents came from Latvia and Estonia, German-Swedish background. They were called Baltic Germans. And they had a farm my father was born in Riga, my mother in Estonia. And when Hitler and Stalin made their non-aggression pact in 1938, Latvia went to the Soviet Union. And part of Poland went to Germany. But there was nobody from Latvia or Poland at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They just took it.
Right.
And so my father loved the Russian people because they were very feeling rich people.
Mm.
Hated communism because it took everything away from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he was given a farm in Germany because he had German background. He ended up in Hitler's army.
Oh my goodness.
Because in 1938, when that happened, Hitler looked pretty good to them because he was reorganizing Germany, and they built the Autobahn, and they did a bunch of stuff, right? And they hadn't talked about war yet. So he ended up on a farm. The Polish farmer whose farm Germany stole ended up working for my father on his own farm.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty strange. So he said, well, listen, we're living in crazy times. Let's just run the farm the way the farm needs to be run, like get focused on what we need to do here. And when all this shit settles out, then we'll figure it out. Mm. And then they became friends, and then they helped us get out. It's 1945. I was 2.5. I was born on the stolen farm, right? And they helped us get out. Otherwise, I would be talking to you from Siberia right now.
Oh, my goodness. So when do you think that your true calling, I mean, you had such a journey, and I'm excited to talk about the wild and crazy things that you've done.
Yeah.
And, but
no, hey, none of them are wild or crazy.
Well, for me,
they just seem like that.
Maybe not
from
crazy,
the outside.
But wild is.
I mean, you just insert the world beautifully awakened experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But from such a young age, and you have this depth of character and spirituality. Yeah. Where do you think that? Do you think that was innate? You're born that way, or did you have someone impression that made a big impression on you?
Well, I think it's because I got stripped of everything. Mm. I didn't have anything to lean on. Like if you don't have support on the outside, you either die or you find it on the inside. And when we were in Germany after the war, I was 6 years old, and the adults always argued, and it was so intense. And they'd argue about stuff that was irrelevant even to a 6-year-old. They get into these arguments, and they'd make me feel really uneasy because I was really shy and. Like this, And I listened to another one of these arguments, and feeling just like, ugh. And I said, man, there has to be a way that people can live in harmony. Mm. And this cocky voice says, and I'm going to find out how. So that's where it started. But it came out of being stripped already. So if I look at the war now and say, what a gift that was. Because you look at what's going on now, we're heading in the same direction. I've been there. I know what that is, right? And why is that? Because we are so entitled and we are so full of ourselves that, for instance, in your politics, but also Canadian politics and everybody else's politics, we have in common, we have almost everything in common, Republicans and Democrats. We have to eat, we have to drink, we have to poo, we have to pee, we have to sleep. We like sex, we worry about our kids. We have we need to keep warm in winter and cool in summer, right? And so we have almost everything, all the simple needs that human beings have, we have them all in common. But that's not what we talk about. Because we're out of touch with ourselves, we live by ideologies, either political or national or religious or philosophical, and all that is blah, blah. Because if you're in touch with yourself, you feel so cared for and so deeply embedded in peace, you don't need an ideology. You just basically say, okay, I'm taken care of. How can I help? And you see something needs to be done, you do it. Or if you're going to be like big about it, then you say, how can I make the biggest splash for good that is possible in the time that I have on earth? Right? So we're now going into, and we're creating the war that we need to create to learn the shit that we haven't been learning. So that's where we're going, and we either can avoid it by becoming wise, and that maybe happens to 5% of the population, or we're going to whip ourselves into it, and that usually is what happens to 95% of the population.
Udo, when you think about, what you just shared, it's a sobering time that we're living in right now, and as you said, we tend to repeat history until we maybe eventually learn to transcend history to create a brand new way of living and being,
or a brand old way.
Or a brand old way,
because
way.
all of the great teachers have always said that.
Yeah.
So this is not news. This is not news that we should look for the kingdom first, and
Absolutely.
that's inside of us, and that it's inside of us. And most people who memorize that and then say, "Oh yeah, I'm a follower of that teacher," they're actually following Moses. They're not following the law of love, which is the one he said was the one that works, right? And they just memorize it, but they don't, it says, seek first the kingdom, and say, okay, seek first the kingdom, and they're not seeking the kingdom that's inside because they're not doing something to find a way to bring their focus back inside to reconnect.
You're exactly right. They think that there's this kingdom out there.
And then they try to create kingdoms on the outside.
Yeah.
Like Putin's kingdom or Trump's kingdom or Carney's kingdom. It's like, and why is that? Because when you don't feel fulfilled, nothing is ever enough.
So
more, because you're missing the point the whole time.
Exactly. And I think the thing that I know I'm curious about, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners are very curious about, when you decided to write this book, your new book, what was the intention behind it? Because the first book I read of yours was your Fats book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. Yeah. It was a deeply scientific book. My goodness. I can think of the pages that I read and it was like, oh my goodness, look at these chemical constructs. And we get arachidonic acid over here. And I was like, okay, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
Not that you've departed, but the evolution of where you are today from where you were as a scientist, you're still a scientist, my friend. And the way you look at health today, how has this informed this new book?
Have you read it?
Is oil a metaphor for something else? When you say your body needs an oil change.
Your body needs an oil change. So we're thinking, is that a metaphor? Or is this going back to some of your earlier science and research?
Well, it's interesting because after I wrote Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, it was targeted at the maybe 1% of the population that either has background or that's really interested in health. And I think we nailed it pretty well for that, right?
Yes.
But I always thought I'd like to write a book that is more street level. Even though Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill is street level. If you have grade 8 education, there's nothing in it you can't understand, although you might have to look and examine some of it, right? So we wrote it for the level of grade 8 students, and I actually practiced in my brother's grade 8 science class.
That's great.
But I wanted to write one that was simpler, that didn't get into the chemistry. And I never got to it because I was traveling for traveling for 15 years. I was on the road 6 to 9 months every year.
Wow.
And just going everywhere and talking about science, health and fats really, but health, and then human nature. So that's where my interest is. My biggest deal is, what is a human being? I want to be a full human being. What does that take? Right. So then when I finally got around to writing it, I've already moved on quite a bit from fats, then to digestion, then to greens, then to physical health. And then one day I sat down and I said, so what else affects health? And the answer came back. It says, well, everything affects health. Oh my God, if everything affects health, then you need to give everything its due. And so I started writing. When I wrote Your Body Needs an Oil Change, it's the street level book that I wanted to write, but I get into the bigger picture of health. And so it's kind of a transitional book between the oil stuff that I did and the physical health stuff that I did, and the stuff on human nature or total health, which has 10 different parts to it, which I'm interested in developing before I go horizontal permanently.
I did take some notes, by the way, on the new book, because I love, and we talk about on our podcast a lot about awareness. So you start with awareness in this formless container. And do you want to go on about what do you mean? What do you want people to know about our self-awareness, human awareness?
Well, awareness is not like a dollar bill or a piece of gold. Awareness is a container because if you sit still enough to bring your focus inside, the first thing you're going to find out, there's light inside of you, and you can see that light. And there's a sound inside of you, and you can hear that sound. And there's feeling inside of you, and we all know that there's feeling inside, because when you're happy, you feel it inside. And when you're frustrated, you feel it inside, right? So, but then you ask yourself, well, who sees that light? Who hears that sound? Who feels that feeling? What is it? And you say, okay, the observer of what's going on in your body as well as outside your body, the observer is pure awareness. And pure awareness, you can call it presence, you can call it source, you can call it God, you can call it peace. There's lots of different names for being, existence. And that existence, when you tap into that, you discover that it's your foundation, or your universal foundation, but it's not limited to your body. You're a point of that peace, and that peace goes all the way out to infinity. There's no boundary of that peace. Your body's not a boundary. It just exists. And oh my God, the entire universe is built in peace, and galaxies will explode in that space, and the peace is not affected. Same way, peace is everywhere on this planet, and when the trees bud and the flowers bloom, the peace is not affected. And when people are stupid enough to kill each other, they kill each other they have a war in peace. So that's what we're putting into peace. What the hell? Why?
Why?
It's like, why would you do that when you could enjoy the beauty of existence? Right? And then if you did that, you did the homework that the teachers all said we should do first, then you wouldn't have a war. Then you would say, okay, how can we make it work for our kids? How can we help each other live better? How can we share what is worth focusing on instead of focusing on how we can hurt each other as badly as possible?
Yeah.
And
right?
gosh, we hear you, and that is exactly what we try and spread through this little thing we call our podcast. So, how
Yeah.
else do you think that we get that message
So,
out there, and maybe expanding on those three? You talk about the mind and the inspired mind, protective mind,
yeah,
habitual mind, and how do we connect that across the planet?
Mm,
we don't. We don't.
okay.
You're only responsible for your connection.
Mm.
So you can, and when you feel connected, that might inspire people to go in that direction, but you can't go there for them.
Mm.
And of course, that's what they all said, right?
Yeah.
It's you have to do your homework. You can't do my homework. I had a relationship where she saw the beauty in me and I saw the beauty in her, but she didn't see the beauty in her and I didn't see the beauty in me. And I thought my love was going to come from her, and she thought her love was going to come from me, but neither of us had done our homework. So neither of us knew how to go inside to the love that is our individual essence
Mm,
and to bring that into the relationship. So, well, if neither of the people in the relationship can get to the love within them to bring it into the relationship, where the hell is the love in the relationship supposed to come from?
Mm.
And of course, we ended up not being in a relationship because she was disappointed because I wouldn't do her homework for her. I couldn't do her
mm,
homework for her. And she was disappointed, or I was disappointed because she couldn't do my homework for me. And so we both ended up disappointed, and that ended the relationship,
Mm.
right? So what I say these days is, okay, do your homework. You got to do your homework first. That's easy to say because I didn't do it. but, but that's the wisdom of the wisdom of afterwards.
Do you feel like
Right?
you've done your homework now?
And so the homework is ongoing. It's
Yes.
always
Yes.
every day,
Work in-
because
work in
every day
progress.
your senses take you away from yourself, and
Mhm.
every day you need to bring your focus back, right?
Mhm.
So, but I know that there's a peace, and I know to go there when I don't feel peace and I want to feel peace. I don't expect you to bring it to me. I don't expect her to bring it to me. I don't expect my government to bring it to me. I don't expect my church to bring it to me. That's a biological, internal, personal journey.
Mm.
Okay. And within that peace is a flow of unconditional, empowering love. We call it life, but it is a fraction of solar energy filtered through space, then filtered through the atmosphere, then filtered into green plants, then activating electrons that then bond between atoms to make molecules. So that's solar energy stored there. Then we eat that as food. And then in our cells, those bonds get broken. That energy is released. Now this solar energy is called life. And life energy, not only is it unconditional, empowering love, it's also the master in your body and the owner of your body. Because if I say to you, whose body is that? Most people would say, that's my body. Well, if you say this is my body, you just told me you're not the body. You're the owner. So who are you as owner of the body? Who owns your body? Well, life owns your body. You could say death owns your body, but actually life owns your body, because death doesn't create bodies. death just takes them apart, right? So life is the owner of your body. It's also your internal leader, your resident expert.
mm,
It's perfect health because it never gets sick and never dies. And it's what enlightens you or lights you up from within. And it's your vitality and it's your energy, and it weighs nothing and runs everything. Right? So that's number two. The shine of that into the world is, I call it inspired purpose.
Mm.
And that's basically when I feel loved and in peace, because I'm present in my own nature, then how can I help? Where can I put some light? Where can I shine some light and make light up the situation a little? That's number three. Body is number four. food and fitness, basically, and digestion, and there's a bunch of stuff in that. That's where most people focus on when they focus on health.
Yeah.
But actually, peace and unconditional love are more important to health than the body, because the body is terminal. The body is a terminal condition. The peace and the love are unconditional, formless, indestructible, and eternal, right? So then there's protective. That's the mental part. Protection, because, it's basically, what is that? Safety, keeping warm, food, shelter, all that stuff.
Maslow's.
But also procreation, parenting, and education, and skills education, survival skills education. So that's number 5. Number 6, I call it habitual mind. That's all the baggage that we carry, all the cultural, religious, political, that's how we do things around here, baggage, right? That's basically, you got to bring that to awareness and then dump it if it doesn't make sense. What did Jung say? He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So he says, you make the unconscious conscious. You bring that up. He says, what else do I believe that's BS? Right?
Right.
And do I need to carry that around with me? Right? Traditional, right? Why you need the tradition? No, you need love. Love is good. Tradition, sometimes okay, mostly not necessary. So that's number 6. Number 7 is other people. So the social environment. And then number 7 is natural environment. Number 8 is basically the universe, infinite awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you're a terminal condition in an infinite universe, and that's okay. Not to say, I'm going to die. Not like that, right? But it's the truth, right? The body's a terminal condition, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how well you drink and eat and breathe and exercise, it's a terminal condition. And it's okay. And what do you want to do in the time you have here in that terminal condition, right? It's kind of cool because water, air, and dust got mixed up together in a very, I don't know what the right word is, in a very precise way.
Yeah.
And in a miraculous way, so that this dust, water, and air can have the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
All of what that entails. And all of that is divine, if you want to call it that. Right? All of it, including the peas and the poos and all of the things that are the unmentionables, this all divine. When you really have to go, it feels really good. Right? And then when you go,
it really does.
Yeah. And when you go, that feels really good too. Right? So you think about, wow, yeah, why are we judging it? Why are we saying that's not good and that's not good? The whole thing is amazing. Right? And then beyond the number 9, which is infinity, there's emotional states, and emotional states are a composite of the other 9. And they're how you keep track of how things are going. And each one of them brings, like, if you're in peace, if you live in peace, then your dominant emotional state will be something like a calm presence, right? When you get off on any one of these 9, like each one of these 9 has a different nature, a different function, needs a different kind of attention on a regular basis, and goes off in a different way and responds to a different kind of intervention. So when they're all aligned with nature and your nature, then you have total health. And if one goes off, it'll take some of your health with it, whatever is appropriate to that part, right? And when you get back in line, you get it back. So that's the healing model. What are we out? So you can say, okay, on those 10 parts, which ones are out of line? In what way are they out of line? How do I get from where they are out of line to where they are in line? And that's the healing, right?
Udo, and it's a perfect way. I'd love to bring this as much as I can with all that wisdom you just shared, bringing it full circle, coming back to that place I think you began with a few minutes ago about the idea of solitude. So we even know when we're not in alignment. So we even know when our environment or whatever it is that we're working with of those 10 principles, being able to identify and actually connect with that. So coming back to the idea of
No,
solitude.
but you know that. But you know that. You know, when you're overwhelmed, when
Yeah.
you're anxious, when you're depressed, when you're angry, you know, you're manifesting it in your life. And the question is, why am I overwhelmed? Well, very simple. You're trying to stop change. You're trying to make things that by nature change all the time. You want them not to change, right? And guess what? That's bound to fail. And you're not in touch. If you want something not to change, then get in touch with what in you never changes. Because something in you never changes. That's where your anchor is. That's where your foundation is. That's where your container is. You want that, then go there, right? And then you can watch the changes, and it's entertainment, not frying freak out.
Not a threat. Not a threat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why it's important to be fully present to all of your being, because in that you have peace and it's within you. The thing is, you don't have to create that peace. It's already your foundation.
Yeah.
You don't have to create the flow of unconditional empowering love. That's already your individual essence within that foundation. And so to have access to that, if 8 billion people chose to do that in their own life, there wouldn't be any wars. We wouldn't be screwing up the environment. You know, and all of these things that people come up with, you know, oh, got to do with the environment. I had a professor who got into the environment, and he was an asshole, right? And what I realized is, you know, we are not going to fix what needs to be fixed that we've messed up until we fixed our own mess up within us, which is simply the disconnection from peace and from love and from inspiration and from wisdom and from insight and from fulfillment that is all there all the time, even in our worst moments, but we're not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a lot of epigenetic wiring that needs to find sort of its new nodes to rewire, because it's gotten so
Yeah, so
many
yeah,
of
you're
us have
talking
gotten
about
so
you're talking
far
about
away from that circuitry.
yeah, you're
And
talking about changing your mind.
it's not just the mind. It's like it's the whole symmetry. It's the mind body. It's the gut brain. It's like all of it, and just how, even if you look at, you know, what we've inherited from all these generations, and now we're trying to like recenter. It's just, you know, going back to the question I asked you, and you're like, oh, we're not going to change, but people have to find it within. But how are they going to know how to find it within? They're not looking for it. They're not recognizing that that's the process to peace.
Let me now answer your question.
Yes.
You start with heartache. I don't know anybody who doesn't know heartache. I met one guy, Japanese guy. He said, I don't feel heartache. And halfway through the conversation, he said, oh, no, I feel heartache. Only one. Heartache, you know, that uneasy feeling, right? The caused by your disconnection from yourself. And then, like Buddha said, when you feel it, don't look for it because it'll find you. There's so many things that you don't have control over that give you heartache because you don't have control over it. So don't look for it. But when it comes, accept it. Be with it. Feel it. Sit with it quietly. Acknowledge it. Accept it. Maybe even be grateful for it because it gets you out of your head and puts you into your body. That's the hardest job in terms of human development and human growth, is to get out of your head into your body. That takes you there instantly.
Yeah.
So feel with it and then sit with it. And when you sit with it, if you know that it is your heart calling your focus to come back home inside to reconnect with the beauty of your existence, then see if you can slip behind it and get there. Yeah. And then I say to people, so try to do that and see if you can get there. And if you can't get there by yourself, then keep your ears open, because there are people who know more about it than you do, and listen to what they have to say. And some of them will teach you methods that make it a little bit easier to not get distracted and to be able to go into the stillness. Right? So I'm not against I'm not for being your own guru. I am saying it's your journey and no one else can do the journey for you. But is there help? Well, yeah, you know what? It's like if if an old lady walks along the road and her grocery bag breaks because it's made out of paper, right? And the apples are rolling on the sidewalk, right? Well, if somebody goes by, probably somebody will come and help her put those bags, you put those apples back into a way that or carry them home for her or something. Yeah. So we have help. So there is help, but you can't, what do they say? Mama ain't coming back, right? There's no one who can do it for you, but there are people who can maybe point in directions that you might have not thought of, or sometimes it's a sentence. But for me, the sentence was when I learned, because I was looking for how do I stay in this experience. I haven't even told you where that started, but how do I find my way back to it? And I ran into a kid. I was 30 years old. The kid was 14. And I went to listen to what he had to say because something I'd been thinking about triggered that I needed to see this guy. Just a word, right? It was about perfection. And they called him Perfect Master. And because I had talked about perfection, I said, I know there's a perfection within me. I know I'm not connected to it. And I need to find someone who can show me a step, because I've been trying to figure it out and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting there. So I went to see this guy, and he talked for 2 hours. I remember one sentence. And the sentence was, the peace you search for in the world is within you, and I can reveal you that peace. And then I went through a whole head trip about, I don't know, you're 14, I'm 30, I've been around, what's a 14-year-old going to teach me? But I was really interested in peace because I came out of a war, so peace was always a key for me. So I said, okay, I'll check him out. I don't think he can, but if he can, I wouldn't want to miss it. And if he can't, I'll just keep looking. And then I learned a method. And then I thought the method was too simple because it was really complicated getting to the moon, and we hadn't gotten to peace yet. So peace must be more complicated than going to the moon, right? That was my logic, right? And then I said, okay, he said, give it a fair chance. So he didn't say what that was. I said, okay, I'll try it for 6 months and I'll see if I notice a difference. And very quickly, I realized that if I did the quietness, he recommended an hour a day. I couldn't sit still for longer than 5 or 10 minutes at that time. right? So I recognized very quickly that if I did the practice before I said anything to my ex, that would immediately lead to her taking the opposite view and us getting into a major bitching fight,
Wow.
right? And when that happened, first I would just leave the house because I'd be so frustrated. I was going to either hit her or leave the place. And so that was up in Evergreen, up above Evergreen, right? And I would go into the woods and sit on a log and do this practice for 5 or 10 minutes. And I'd say, what, we argued about that? Why? That's stupid, right? And then I realized that if I did the practice before I got into the argument, I wouldn't rise to the bait. And by the time 6 months were up, I said, oh, this shit works. So that was 53 years ago.
Well, there's no question. And as we bring this full circle, if there was one thing,
Yeah.
and I know that's going to be next to impossible, given the wisdom that you just shared with us, what do you want people, if there was I'm not going to say there's a cliff note, but if there was something that could help us to begin a practice that we could walk away with today, Udo, that would say, here's a place I get a chance to begin again, returning back to this place. What would you say is the number one thing, whether it's from your book, your 80 plus years of being a wisdom keeper, a teacher, a philosopher, all the things that you are as a scientist?
Yep.
What do you want people to walk away with?
I'll just make it up
Okay.
on the spot. Fundamentally, make time every day for stillness in a safe place. Maybe follow your breathing and breathe lightly and quietly. See how still you can become. See how deep you can go into that stillness. See how long you can hang out there. And what do you notice in that stillness, in the space that your body occupies?
Perfect.
And do that every day. And as time goes on, you will go deeper and deeper, and you will discover more and more of an infinite gift that is hidden within you, that is there for you to experience, that no one else can experience for you. So if you don't experience it, it's a wasted gift.
Mm.
And don't kick sand into the face of the universe that created you by not doing your homework.
Ooh, that right there. That is the crystallized wisdom right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your infinite gifts with us today. And before we let you go today, do you want to share with our listeners and viewers your nude beach story?
Come on, let's go ahead and bring that.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
leave.
you were saying, getting out of your mind and into your body. I was thinking that's kind of what I need to do on a nude beach. I need to get out of my mind so I'm not overthinking.
Well, you could. Well, if you're ashamed of your body, you might get into your mind even more when you do that. So that's a. But
I don't think ashamed, embarrassed.
We should do another
talk
episode.
Yes.
But I'll tell you that story because there's a couple of other more important stories. Anyway, I'm studying biology, and in biology, you basically look at everything, right? You look in all the body openings, and you look at the skin, and you look at the hair, and you look at, if there's a wart on the nose of something, you study that too. And if there's a hair coming out of that wart, you study that too, right? So, and there's no shame in any of that. And one day it occurred to me that I'm ashamed of my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell is that? And then I started to think, well, where did I come up with that? Well, how did I get there? I had no idea. So then being a guy, guys always like to fix stuff, right? Being a guy, I said, okay, I don't know how it happened, but I'm going to fix it. So how do I fix it? And the thought was, okay, get used to being naked in public. Okay, this is 1969, right? Get
That's a
used to
good
being
year.
naked.
That was a good year for it, Udo.
Yeah. Summer of '69, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I decided to go down to the beach by the university in Vancouver. It's called Wreck Beach, and the 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 university's on a peninsula, and there's a cliffs, sand cliffs that go down to the water. They're quite several tree lengths high. Okay, and so I went down there and sat down behind a log and took off my clothes and sat there naked behind a log. And if somebody came by on the beach, I would duck, right? Because I was ashamed of my body, right? And then pretty soon I got up and I started walking naked on the beach. And then if somebody came the other way, I would go and sit down behind the log. And then not so long after that, I'm walking naked down the beach and somebody comes the other way and I keep walking. And it was an isolated place, so it was not subject to social rules and all of that. So it was just a place in nature, right?
Yeah.
And and I started getting more comfortable with it. And then I lived in a house with a whole bunch of other people, 60s, right? And one day we all got stoned on mescaline or psilocybin, I can't remember. And 10 of us went to that beach. And on that beach, at low tide, there was something they called the mud flats. So it was all just stuff that had settled out of the water. And if you walked on these mud flats, you'd go up to your knees in the mud. And so we went down there. It was late afternoon. Tide was out. And we started wrestling naked in the mud. And we were all hippies in those days, right? So we had hair down to our butts and beards, right? Right? And so we started wrestling naked in the mud, stoned on mescaline. And it was so childlike. It was nothing weird about it. It was just like kids playing, just like 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds playing. You know what that's like. And you look at it, it's like it's really funny, right?
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people stopped on the beach and watched. And sort of the word was, wow, I would like to feel that free.
Ooh.
And that's what kicked the nude beach into place.
Oh, wow.
And then I spent a couple years down there. My son was conceived on that beach. Because I actually lived down there for a while. And after a couple of years, I'm walking naked down the beach, and I wanted to extend the beach. So what I would do is I would get a garbage bag, and I'd be naked, and I'd pick up garbage along the beach. And then I would take the garbage bag with all the garbage in it, and I would dump it into a garbage can in the closed section. So that's how I would extend the beach. And nobody ever said anything.
Wow.
Because they said, this guy's obviously crazy, but he's doing something useful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's how we extended the beach. And then one day I'm walking down this beach and I'm naked and this other guy's coming the other way and he's got short pants on, knicker socks. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's coming by. As he goes by, he yells at me, "Put your clothes on!" And instantly I yelled back at him in the same tone, "I'm not telling you to take yours off. Don't tell me to put mine on." And I got about
thinking.
Yeah, and I got about 20 feet past that. And this is like, okay, I'm good with naked now. And so then and then basically I left and started doing other things. So it literally was my own shame therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's a good, really, really good, powerful story. We'll have to have another reunion with you because I feel like there could be chapters of all the different evolutions of self.
There could be, but I definitely want to talk about My 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 introduction to the inner world.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
It's a
We would-
very powerful,
We
very
would love
powerful.
that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, Udo, as I said, full circle, meeting you nearly, oh my gosh,
28 years ago,
28 years ago on my radio show. I couldn't wait to have you on then and to
Yeah.
have you here with my wife today. It's an honor. You've taught us so much as clinicians around healthy fats. And, it's beautiful. I'm in my 60s now. Deb's in her 50s. And our medicine has
Jeez,
changed.
you guys look like spring chickens.
Oh, well, that's very kind and generous. But I think the beautiful thing is, Udo, our medicine has changed over these years. We have integrated so much more of the spiritual understandings about what makes our cells vibrate differently, what makes our physiology pulse at a different octave.
Yeah.
That is what we love to teach. And to have you come in, and I love to say, be a physical, emotional, and spiritual demonstration of the things that we try to teach our patients. What a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah. My thing is to turn health and total health based in nature and human nature into teachable fields. We haven't done that in 200,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time.
It is about time.
It is about time.
And I love you for that. I mean that sincerely. I love you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your time today. It was mwah,
Mwah.
beautiful to see you. And I guess we'll just reach out to you directly about spending more time together in the future.
Yeah, just do it through Angela.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
The way we hooked up and just set up another one.
And people can learn more about you on your website at udoerasmus.com.
Yeah, you know what? Udo, UDO.
Yep.
That's such a strange name that it's its own SEO.
Yeah.
If you write
I love it.
UDO into Google, I'm on the first page.
Perfect.
Right. And I'm on
That's divine
Instagram and I have a
orchestration.
YouTube channel and I'm on LinkedIn and I have a website, udoerasmus.com. I'm not hard to find.
Beautiful. Thank you, Udo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
And you.
Thank you.
Bye.